everyone, today we are with Jessica Hawkins, Valvoline and Aston Martin ambassador. We all have a story with motorsport, how it all began. So how did it begin for you?
I first started when I was 8 years old, and I was always very sporty as a kid. I excelled at sports, but I was never particularly academic. And I used to go and play different sports with my dad on various weekends and things. And one day I was playing golf with him, and in the distance was a kart circuit, and I didn't really know what it was, but it obviously intrigued me, and I begged him to take me over there and let me have a go. And he gave in eventually after some persuasion needed, and yeah, it went from there really. It was never supposed to be what it's turned into. It was just something I saw one day and begged my dad to let me have a go, and here I am 20 odd years later, still racing and still loving it as much as I did when I first started.
You've raced in several categories. You've been in the W Series, you're right now in the British GT. Which category have you liked the most, and what have you learned from each one?
I couldn't pick which has been my favourite. They've all been very good for different things. Each car that I've raced has had different characteristics. Some have been maybe faster in a straight line but better around the corners, and vice versa. And I just love racing, to be honest.
We were speaking a little while ago about your career as a stunt driver. Do you think you have taken certain techniques from that part of your career to the track?
I don't think that there's much correlation, to be honest. They're two very different things. I've always said that I think that they're probably the same set of skills, just used in a very different way.
How did it feel to know that you were another of the few females to make an F1 test drive?
It was obviously the biggest day of my life, and something
Of course.
I think as any young driver growing up through karting, your dream is to become a Formula 1 driver, but at a young age you don't realise what actually needs to go into it and what stars need to align and how much everything needs to come together for that to happen.
What are your next steps in your career?
I've obviously been racing British GT this year. As I said earlier, it's my first year in GT racing. It's slightly different for me, and I'm embarking on that journey now. I have some great partners with Valvoline. They've really helped me on my route this year. I'm obviously racing in the Aston Martin, the GT3 Evo car, which is the new car for this year.
Yeah.
And we had some great success with it along the year, and I think a few podiums. Don't get me wrong, as a racing driver you always want to win, don't you? But I had expectations of this year, and it was great to get on the podium, especially in the first year. And yeah, I'm going to follow that route. Le Mans is obviously my dream, realistic dream as well, I think. Again, things need to fall into place for that to happen, but at the moment, that's my dream, that's my goal, and that's what I'm fighting for.
And talking about support in motorsport, how does it feel to be so supported by certain partners, like for example Valvoline?
Well, it's very important. First of all, it's probably one of the most important things. The simple fact is I wouldn't have been racing this year without Valvoline's support, so it's great to have them and be a part of their family, and I've got to know them a lot over the past couple of years. And it's great to be a Valvoline ambassador.
We know Valvoline is the original, so what makes Jessica Hawkins an original? What steps have you taken to get where you are now? What makes you different from the rest?
Honestly, I think the reason that I'm still racing and the reason that I still have so much left to give is because every time that I've been knocked back, it may have taken me a little bit of time, but I've always dusted myself down and gone again. And I think it's finding that deep, but the reason that I find that easy is still because I love it so much.
With the rising of different categories, like for example, F1 Academy,
Yep.
How do you feel about being a role model for young girls, and what would you tell them as an inspiration?
I've just said, never ever give up. That's the biggest key for me, is never giving up. And yeah, I want the young girls to go on to bigger and better things than I ever did, and I want to see a female racing in Formula 1.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us and for talking with us.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you guys for watching.